Hi, this is Rajiv. Today I would like to present before you an overview of information governance features in IBM Information Server 11.7. This has been presented by Matt Crittendon, who's one of the topmost gurus in information governance for North America within IBM. He presented this during the IBM IAS user group meeting in Chicago. Hope you like it and please give me your feedback, and I'm sure you'll get a ton of value from this presentation. Thanks.
Just to tell you a little bit about myself, I'm Matt Crittendon. I'm part of the North America governance practice. I'm Brian's peer on the technology side. So when he talked about people, process, and technology and governance, I'm going to bring the technology to bear. Been around a lot of years, came from Central Software back when we were acquired back in 2005, and been really excited about what we've been doing with this technology over the years, especially right now, all the latest and greatest really cool things that we're going to show you this morning and throughout the day. Something you should know about me is that I'm passionate about dogs, and you can see here one of my dogs. And the reason why I have that on the screen is I equate dogs and data in the exact same way. If you lay down the guidelines, the guardrails that Brian was talking about, you put in the rules that of what your pet can and can't do, and you train them properly, it's just like data in that it'll behave, it'll do what you want. The problem is, just like data, if you don't have all that governance activity up front where you're making sure your data is doing what it should do, you get into this type of situation. You end up with a dog that looks like this, and this has happened to me way too many times while I'm training my dog or governing my dog. So hopefully that analogy will work for you guys as well. We don't want the messy dog. We want the good, clean dog. I'm going to skip that for right now. So this is my one and only marketing slide. I'd probably be fired from IBM if I didn't put one in here. We're going to talk throughout the day about information server, and that's why all of you are on the call and in the room with us today to talk about this. What Brian and I are focusing on in the governance space is two of the three dimensions of information server. We're going to talk about the creating the language and the data quality aspects, data analysis, and some of the other topics that are really, really pertinent to governance. What I'm going to present over the next half hour or so are my top 10 things in information server that will help speed up the governance activity. This is not an IBM approved set of slides. These are my screenshots about what I've worked with over the last probably 9 years in the governance space with different customers that have been incredibly successful. So, and you'll be able to download these. They can download these slides. Okay, so you'll have a copy of these and you can see some of this. Awesome. So this first area is one of the things that my customers, actually I was with a customer yesterday, they got really excited, was advanced search. A lot of people don't notice this in that little gear shift that you see on the screen inside the governance catalog, where you can simply click on that and drill into all the gory details behind the scenes of this. What's really nice about the advanced search is that you can go through and search on anything in our metadata solution, whether it be custom or custom information or base information like I'm showing here, which is just terms. I want to search on some term information. And you can see all the custom attributes that are available to you from that. In addition, what will happen is that you can select multiple topics, and what we'll do is actually narrow down the search capabilities so that it's only the attributes that you want to search on across all of the different topics. So you see on this particular search screen, I'm searching on terms, categories, and governance rules. And the only attributes that are shared between those three topics are what you see on my screen, labels and a few other different components. This is really, really great to get at the information the way you want to see it. So, everybody's talking about the shop for data paradigm these days. This is one example of that. We're going to look at a couple other ones later on throughout this discussion. The advanced search capability will lead us into, and I'm just going to jump on to the next one. Oh, by the way, if you haven't seen our latest and greatest solutions, I'm going to be bouncing back and forth between our 11.7 release of the software and 11.5-ish, some of the different components that you'll see. In 11.7, we've made this information, the advanced search, far more visible. You no longer have to go click on a little toggle to get at the information. You'll see it immediately when you go into the search capabilities, and you can search by your asset types and then you're filtering based off of those assets that come up. So it's going to be very visual, and you're going to love that. But what the advanced search gets me to is number 9 on my list of governance activities or things that will speed up your governance process: batch edits. Every time you build a lot of data inside the governance catalog or inside of information server as a whole, you'll every now and then want to update a whole bunch of things globally. You'll want to change who the data steward is for this information, or maybe you want to add a new attribute or put a label on a bunch of information, and you don't want to do it to 1,000 or 2,000 items, individually, one at a time. Batch edit lets you do that. So you go from the advanced search capability to find your complete list, and here's the list of that came from advanced search, and you see what my search options were on the left. This particular case only had 15 objects. I can simply click the 15 objects and use that search results window at the top and go up to the little upside down ellipse over there, which is our menu item in all of our newer interfaces, and click edit. From there, you'll again get to the capability of all the attributes that are shared there, and I can select which attributes I want and then go out there and make the change. What's really, really invaluable here is that you can either add additional content to this. So say I had a data steward here and I wanted to add a new one, or say my steward changed and I want to replace that particular steward. I can go out there and replace whoever was in the steward's field before with the additional ones. So really great feature where you can supplement information or completely replace it very, very quickly, and do it in batch. So you don't have to do it onesie twosie like you would had previously. Number 8, this is one that it should have been higher in my opinion, but it's been around for a while, is our query builder capability inside of IGC. And Query Builder is an amazing little utility to go out there and slice and dice and report on information very quickly. I don't know how many times you'll be in a governance scenario where somebody's going to ask you a specific question. I need a list of all reports that go off of a specific data type and has information on it about, say, a provider or patient information. Customer I was with yesterday wanted that particular one. You can go into the Query Builder and slice and dice that information. The query on my screen right now shows that I just wanted a real common piece of information where people want to know all the terms that have changed in the last period of time. So I pull up that information utilizing that display criteria, and then you go over to the criteria itself and specify exactly what you want. So you can see I built the screen a little while ago. This was back in April, but you can go out there and get the information the way you want to see it, and even specify a specific path, off of that. So any attribute that's available to you on the objects that you're searching is available to you to actually go off and build queries on. Query Builder is an incredibly great way to do this. To show you a comparison of how you would do this in the world, and this is the results from that particular query. Notice those check boxes on the left. This is another great way of getting to a batch edit capability. So you can take the results from Query Builder, just like you could advanced search, and do bulk edits off of that, or batch edits off of that information in the same way. So another really cool tool to do this. Just for historical context, this is a query that took me several hours to build. We were working with a customer where they wanted to know if we found PII or sensitive data in fields that we didn't expect it to. And that's what you see on the very, very bottom of that SQL screen. We were using custom attributes to define particular information. So pretty hefty query that took several hours to build and get this running. We then went and switched over to Query Builder and did it in literally about 30 seconds. And you can see it took 2 lines of code inside of Query Builder to pull up the exact same thing that a 39-line query took inside of SQL. So Query Builder is incredibly fast for getting you the information you need as quick as possible. Number 7 on the list, reformatting screens. It'll be interesting to see if this moves into the newer interfaces that we're releasing in our 11.7 release right now. But in the 11.5 and the base IGC in 11.7, you could use Query Builder to actually change the screens. So in this particular case, I'm looking at a category called Party and all the terms in that particular screen. And you notice that the terms area is just nothing more than a list of terms. We can go in and change that using a query builder query. So in this particular case, I've changed the screen to actually show me not only the terms, but a short description and show me the data stewards for that particular piece of information, giving me far more information on the screen that is relevant to the topic at hand. The query builder is just a simple way of formatting the name of the query itself to change the screen. So you see what I've highlighted there with category.terms. You put a dollar symbol and then the screen name followed by a period and the screen subsection or subtopic within that area. So I want to change the terms section of the category screen. And if you're ever interested in building these type of queries, you can look at it right from here. So you just look at the top of the screen to know what screen you're on. So I'm looking at category information, and then the subtopic was terms. So if you name your query that way with a dollar sign, it'll immediately change your screen, and you'll see that right away as you do your queries inside of IGC. Number 6, this is a great topic, and this probably should have been number 1, but it's not the one I use the most these days right now. Inside of our current release of Information Server, we now support all data. We've always done a fantastic job governing structured data, but a lot of our customers want to govern unstructured data in the same manner. So we have a technology called Stored IQ that can allow you to do the same type of information governing in the unstructured side. So say you're a healthcare and you've got a whole bunch of x-rays and you want to pull information off of that, or you have information out on Box and you want to pull that information in, or SharePoint in your Word documents and things like that, or PDFs. Stored IQ can go out there and grab all that information and then automatically bring that into the governance catalog. And this is an example of what content coming from a Box folder would look like inside of the brand new UI for Information Governance Catalog in our 11.7 release. So you can see all the different topics about that. You can see when it was actually brought in here, and you see where this sits. Inside of IGC, you'll see a new topic out there for unstructured data, and all of your Stored IQ content will be stored underneath there. So you'll be able to see your unstructured data the exact same way and govern your unstructured data the same way as you would your structured side. Your data stewards can be assigned to it. You can assign business terms, all the things that are important to getting started and getting your hands around governance. Number 5, we're in the top 5 now, is automation rules. This is an incredibly exciting topic in that this spans both IGC and Information Analyzer. So automation rules allow you to build business logic, to build quality rules that can automatically be applied to your data. So this is just a couple of quick sample ones that I've built in my environment, my demonstration environment, to validate things like an email address, to manage the format of that, or validate social security numbers to make sure that they look like they're legitimate and not all 9s, for example, or even gender. So anything that you want to govern at a much higher level, not just a single column, but across your enterprise, topics like specific categories or classifications of data, automation rules are a great way to get started with that. And to do an automation rule, you simply come in and click add, or in this particular case, I'm editing an existing rule, and you can see the conditions and actions that are available to me. So this is a nice little Blockly interface that we're utilizing for not only our automation rules, but some other capabilities that we have for our rule definitions that are coming out very shortly in an upcoming release, and our data masking rules. And I believe somebody will be talking about that later today as well. But within this, you structure the if, then, else logic, or adding an or case here. So I was in this particular demo looking at if a couple of different business terms were assigned to a column, that I wanted to go out there and run a data rule from Information Analyzer against that. And then I wanted to set my scoring threshold level so that if I had a problem that was, or if my data wasn't up to a 95% standard, I would start red flagging and sending alerts out about that. Number 4 on the list, and this is actually going to be tied to what we just looked at with automation rules, is data discovery. So with a singular data connection to one of your data structures, and this could be flat files, it doesn't have to be just structured, but in this particular case, I'm using, you see the DB2 connector. I have a connection to one of my databases in my repository, and I can click Discover. You don't even have to go up there and click on the word Discover. If you just click on the box, it's automatically going to take you to the next screen. The next screen decides exactly what you want to do with this. So say I have a brand new data structure that I know nothing about and I want to get my hands around it. I can go out there and do column analysis, which what most people would define as data profiling. We're going to look at the nullability of the column, and is it numeric or alphabetic, and is it a constant value, and a lot of the basic things around what this column, each column in that data structure is. We're going to do data quality analysis, which is actually going to apply a whole set of dimensions for scoring your quality. There's currently 10 out-of-the-box dimensions, but if you build any quality rules, like the quality rules that I was showing you in automation rules, those will also enrich the quality scores that will come from this. If I click on those first two boxes, quality analysis will actually turn on term assignment. What term assignment will do is actually assign the business logic directly to the data that we find. So say we find a social security number in your data structure, or what looks like social security number, we will automatically assign the business term that defines what a social security number is, or gender code, or anything else that you have that you're trying to get your arms around. Publish will then share this information with the rest of the world. So rather than seeing it just in Information Analyzer, I will be able to see all the results in the governance catalog as well. And then you just specify where you want this information and the results to store. In Information Analyzer, this would be a workspace. Okay. This is the results of running that analysis, that automatic discovery. So you can see my screen, it actually found a data structure called Party that had 24 columns and about 1,900 plus records available to it. Within that discovery assignment, this automatic discovery thing, we were able to automatically assign terms. So when we looked at the data, it looked like in this particular demo that I had supplier data, party data, customer information, but you see all those other terms that were also available that had some type of relationship to that. You could go in here and actually edit this to add additional terms, or I could even remove the terms that were automatically assigned because their quality scores were so high. As you're doing this, you're teaching our machine learning capability underneath the covers to actually be smarter about your data as you work through this. So those terms were actually assigned based off of 3 different concepts. The first was the column name. So, or in this particular case, the table name. So it looked like table, and or the table name, excuse me, was party, and we had a term called party, and it automatically assigned that. The second set of assignments comes from indirect assignment. So if I have a term on a data class inside Information Analyzer, and I find that what looks like that data in a column, we will automatically assign those terms to that column. And the third area is the supervised machine learning. So as we start to work with your data, we get smarter about this. And as you accept or reject term assignments, our machine learning model underneath the covers is getting smarter about the way you want to do business, not the way IBM shipped the software. So you have 3 different ways of speeding up your governance process on something that tends to take a long time, associating business logic or business information to the data itself. Speaking of our machine learning capabilities, a great feature that our development team has been building into our software is taking the knowledge from our IBM industry models. So we have a whole series of models in the healthcare and financial services and insurance and retail and energy, and I'm sure there's other spaces, but we are taking the knowledge behind those models and embedding it in our machine learning capability so that when we start looking at your data real time, we're already going to know far more about your data because we have the knowledge that came from our models. So we'll know, and I talked about healthcare earlier, we're going to know that this looks like provider data or patient data. And because of that, we're going to be able to be very successful in assigning your terms to this. This is all built in under the covers. You don't have to worry about taking extra steps or even owning the industry models. We're just baking that knowledge into this. You don't get the models, you just get the knowledge from the models in our machine learning capability. Okay. Number 3, enterprise search. So I talked about shop for data earlier, and this is another example of shopping for data within information server. Enterprise search allows me to go at and get information very, very quickly across all of the different areas. So on my screen right there, you see business information, you see technical information, you see structured data and unstructured data. And in addition to that, we can also add our crowdsourcing capabilities there. So you can see that I can actually rate information. I can actually go out there and say if this is the best version of this particular type of information and put comments on it to let people know if this is good or not, or if there's improvements that we need to make. This is really simplifying the governance process because we can share people's learning about what they find in the data and they find in these screens, and they can share that information so that we don't make the same mistakes going forward. So this is really going to streamline your governance activities through this particular interface. Number 2, this is something that's been out for a while, but a lot of people don't know about it. In the governance catalog, you can actually create custom relationships between metadata. Most people are aware that you can build your own metadata types, but a lot of people didn't know that you could build custom attributes that would actually, or excuse me, custom relationships that would say that these new metadata types are connected to old ones in specific ways. This was an example I had with a customer that wanted to go through and build a very, very complex taxonomy for their governance program where they had concepts around definitions and information content. And that's what IC stood for and DS stood for. And they wanted to have these complex relationships. So we were able to go right in and actually, and I'll show you a screenshot of how we did that. In our latest release of Information Server, our Feature Pack 2, these lines that you see on the screen up in the top left corner will actually have tags on exactly what those relationships are. I just didn't have a chance to update this this particular slide, but we've done some really, really cool things in this visualization on the screen as well. So here's the example of building out what you saw on the previous screen. They wanted to actually see that information content may contain other types of information. So we built a simple little relationship called a contains relationship that was based on terms, and that the relationship could be 2 different directions. So an information concept could contain other concepts, or if you look at the bottom of my screen, an piece of information could be contained by other different pieces of information. So you can go either way on the street here to define that content. And you can actually be very selective. So just like we had in the query builder, if I want to restrict what is going to be part of this relationship, I can go out there and actually do that. So we can use the query builder capability to make our custom relationships very, very granular as I need. I could have made it very generic for all terms, but in this case, no, I wanted in the terms in a specific category to be this. So you can see how you can actually build that and build custom relationships at any level that you want to see. And here's the visualization of how you would see that in the old IGC screen. So you would see a contained by and contains on the bottom of my screen there for these information concepts. So you see them visually in the screens, but you also see it very visually in the enterprise search capability. So the number 1 area of governance that I get excited about, and I use this everywhere, are our open view layers. Everybody that I work with in the governance space wants to build dashboards the way they want to see this information. We ship a set of governance dashboards available to you built on Cognos, but everybody has different types of BI solutions that they want to use, and they want to see reports that are very, very specific to the business problems that they're trying to solve. We ship a whole set of open views on top of our metadata solutions, and you can see the definitions of all this information. So we have the common ones, the information analyzer, the information governance, and then even the remediation views on the bottom of the screen here. All of these views are incredibly well documented. This is actually the documentation around the terms to explain exactly how you would go from each view to get a complete picture of that particular topic. So you can go out there and see that if I wanted a business term, which is in the middle of my screen, I can see which categories they're in, so I can actually get the subcategories, because if you know our logic, we have categories that contain other categories. So a term may actually be nested in a path of a bunch of categories. And then you can see all the different types of relationships that we have with terms. So terms can be related to other terms in many different ways, and you can see that information. So the value of this is that I can quickly build reports based on what a customer wants to see. So one of the things that I like to always brag about is my son is a BI genius. He works with every BI tool available on the marketplace. He's shown me how to use Tableau and Click and Business Objects, and this is actually Microsoft. And the only BI tool he doesn't use is Cognos. It's really, really frustrating because I paid for him to go to college, and I got to get him using IBM technology. But we were sitting around, this was a couple months ago, and we had about 30 minutes, and I said, listen, show me Power BI. I wanted to learn how that would work. And so I asked him 3 questions that a customer had asked me earlier in the week. So the first question the customer asked me was, show me a distribution of all my terms, because I want to know where all the work's happening on my business side of the house. So we went out there and quickly built out a dashboard around terms. So you can see that in my particular environment, I have a higher level category called for the industry models. And then I had subcategories around that and subcategories, and I nested these down. So you can see the path. These were actually my financial markets models and being able to see the terms that came from that. The second question I had just been asked was, show me all the terms, and I can do this in Query Builder really easy too, but they wanted a set of standard reports around terms that have been modified over a specific period. So we made this over the last, in this particular case, we could have made it on the screen, it was last 4 weeks. We could have made it days, hours, anything we wanted to with this particular BI tool. And we were able to pull this information up very quickly and slice and dice so I know where the work is being done. This is a real common question we get asked in the governance space. I want to know what my data stewards are working on and what they've gotten accomplished over a period of time. This skill allows me to see exactly what they've been doing. The final query that we built was a quick visualization about the terms in their category so I could hover over this and see what's going on in each area. In my particular demonstration environment, the industry models take up a big area, but I work in lots of different industries. So you can see I've got retail terminology, automotive, casino, and all I have to do is hover over that and see that information really quickly. So in 30 minutes, we were able to build 3 high-level dashboards around governance that we could use anywhere. In fact, I utilize these. I have these on my PC right now, and I utilize these every time I work with a client. Very quickly deploying this. So imagine what you could do if you know a BI tool, and with that open views, you can hit the ground running with this. So that's my top 10 things within Information Server for governance to speed up everything that Brian talked about on the people process side. I want to leave you with one other topic that doesn't get recognized nearly enough within Information Server. Openness is going to be critical for governance success. So we need to be able to share information back and forth. You're going to have different technologies in play. You're going to have different user groups. You may even have different governance solutions that you need to make talk to each other. IBM is the most open platform in the governance space, and we do it in a lot of different ways. One is that we've embedded open source everywhere in our solution. In fact, we've replaced a lot of homegrown proprietary code with open source. Anybody that utilizes Information Server in the current releases know that we got rid of all of our messaging and event processing that we had previously with Kafka and Zoller and Zookeeper to handle that information. But we've applied Janus Graph to be able to show that graphing capability and show the enterprise search. We're embedding activity or work to do with Apache Atlas, and even you see activity on the screen there. We're doing a lot of great things with open source BPM now. In our latest release of the software, we've shipped our 2 brand new workflows utilizing activity in our interfaces that you're going to love when you actually see that. The second piece I already talked about, our open view layer. We are one of the only solutions on the marketplace that share everything, and including our data. In fact, one of my competitors actually walked up to me and said thank you because they were able to consume quality information and they could show it in their solution. I was like, that's fine. You still need my solution to do all the quality because they couldn't do that particular piece. So this is really important because everybody wants to build their own dashboards and slice and dice our information. The open extensibility. I talked about the custom relationships, but you can build custom attributes on anything in our solution, any metadata, even custom metadata if you bring that in. You can build and extend that with any attributes that you need to define. Speaking of custom metadata, we have open APIs and open CLIs to allow you to slice and dice and get at everything in the governance solution. So you can go out there and pull information out or even put information in. If you want to build your own custom metadata types, you can do that easily using our REST API capability. And one of my peers has a lot of this documented on his website, DS Realtime. You can go out there and see a lot of working examples of how to actually utilize these REST APIs and build custom metadata types. Finally, open standards behind the scenes. If you don't remember anything on the screen, remember ODPI. It stands for Open Data Platform Initiative. And IBM and a lot of other companies are getting together to try to create open standards for metadata sharing back and forth. And Ageria is the open standard around us. And you can actually now openly share information from IGC back and forth to other environments utilizing these standards. And what you can also do is over the next very short period of time, you'll be able to do this with Apache Atlas and also another IBM technology, Watson Knowledge Catalog. So everything that IBM is doing is really, really open on the standards front to be able to share information back and forth. When you download these slides, this is probably the most important link that you're going to get in there. This is a link to our open roadmaps. It's not enough just to say that we're open about all this stuff that we do, but we actually put our roadmap out there on the public internet, and you can click on the link and go out there and see this information. And if this was my PC, I would actually click on that link right now and open it up. But, oh, I was just told I can open it, so let me see if I can click on it. This will actually take you to our open roadmaps. Hopefully that's, oh, there it goes. So you'll be able to actually go out there and see information about the IBM Analytics topics of interest. So not only the information server capability. Do you have internet connectivity? It's taking a while, but if this comes back, if not, you're going to have the link to be able to pull this information up. And like I said, it's not good enough that we say that we're open, but okay, finally coming up here. So this is a link to our open unified governance roadmap, so you can pull up this information and see where we are going, not only for 2018, but all of 2019 is actually documented out here, which is fantastic. So you'll always know where we're going. I think information server was 6, yeah. So this will come up in a second here, and you can quickly see our roadmap, what we're planning on doing this. The reason why we're open about this is so you know what we're working on that matches up to what you need in your environment. So if you look at this roadmap and you need a piece of functionality and that you don't see there, you can get with IBM. We can add that and figure out how we can support you and get this into our roadmap. So by letting you know what our roadmap is, it allows you to make sure that we are on the right track for what's important to your industries and your business. With that, I'm going to wrap things up.